I'm very excited to launch and introduce our next speaker, which is Jesper, or Strøm, as we call him. Strøm is Frankly's creative director. He sets the vision for us and our clients on how creative thinking, generation of ideas, and positive energy drives businesses forward. Jesper, take it away.
Thank you, Klaus. Hi, everyone. I'm gonna figure out how to navigate all of these. It's a big pleasure, and just a tad scary as well, standing here in front of you all. I'm here to talk about creativity, and as Lærke said, we do tend to repeat ourselves once in a while. It does work, and even though I'm the creative director at Frankly, I'm not going to bombard you with a lot of stunning, creative visuals. I'm going to do a little detour. Today, I want to start talking about something you all know very well. Meetings. Wasn't expecting that. You know, those neatly little packed time slots you have in Outlook. Because let's face it, you are all very busy people. And thanks for coming again. Your calendars are packed with meetings, calls, stand-ups, sit-downs, slides, spreads, decisions to be made type situations, right? And I might be overstepping my jurisdiction just a tad if I assume that many of those are routine, low arousal type situations focused on coordination, data sheets, weekly statuses, planning, solving minor stuff. The regular stuff meeting tends to be about. At Frankly, we have invented a mantra that's super easy to understand for every newcomer. We simply tell them, we want to be your best meeting of the day. No further explanation. Just make sure to aim for that. And it might sound somewhat simple, but think about it for a second. What's a good meeting? What does it feel like? What's a really bad meeting? We all tried those, right? We can remember the feeling of a bad meeting. But think about then the best meeting. Something out of the ordinary. That's gotta be pretty darn special. So everyone, for a second, think about the last meeting you had that was freaking awesome. I mean, think about it. Those meetings where you leave the meeting with more energy than you entered with. You know that feeling? You go and you're a bit tired, and then you go out, wow, that was nice. That's the power of meetings. Brain cells are firing. Faith installed or reinstalled in the project. Maybe it took you by surprise that someone really put an effort into making that meeting special. Maybe you said something like, did not see that one coming, but God, I love it. Or, why haven't we thought about this before? You know? We had so many bad meetings, now why? And here, ladies and gentlemen, is where I want to build my bridge back to the original topic of creativity. Because I believe that creativity was somehow involved, maybe even responsible for that best meeting of the day, week, month, whatever. And I'm not just talking about creative work in the sense that an agency and what I do are quite a lot. I'm talking about creativity in its raw format. Because human beings, we are natural problem solvers. And creative solutions, when we see them, they literally feel more rewarding than conventional ones. I think you can relate. Creative approaches, they provide a sense of accomplishment. We solved it, we made it, we nailed it. And everyone can relate to that. And it actually gives you energy when you have that experience. So when we encounter unexpected answers to problems, it can truly invoke strong emotional reactions in us. I'm talking about stuff like delight, surprise, maybe even wonder. Maybe I'm stretching it a bit there, but okay. That's part of the beauty of creativity. It's actually the way it makes us feel. All right? Another ingredient that was probably also present in that meeting is this guy. A problem. Something you really needed solved. Like, God damn. Someone's KPI, someone's headache, a must-win battle. Whatever we call important problems in businesses today, I'm sure you can come up with way more than me. But because when those two elements, they come together, the problem and the creativity, they form the perfect condition for creating the best meeting of the day. It's like one can't really go without the other. We wouldn't innovate without problems. We can't. We need real problems in order to bring about bold, energetic, non-obvious ideas. I really, truly love that. Personally, I can think of nothing better. Sitting, ready for a meeting. I have my keynote, have 10 ideas, definitely brought too many slides. Those of you that work with me know, it's pretty hard to kill those darlings once in a while. But I know that at least 2 of the ideas I have in my deck is gonna make whoever receives it go, love that idea. It's a bit too bold for us right now. All right? It's kind of a little personal tick mark I have. I also know that 4 of the ideas are gonna make them go, this really resonates with us. And I also know that a few of the ideas are gonna be forgotten in about 5 minutes because nobody's perfect. These are truly my favorite moments. And thinking about this speech today, it made me think that maybe that's even the reason why I do what I do. So I have a sigh of relief. We found the creative solution. So what happens next? I'm gonna sum up a bit. Ideas have been presented. The energy is high, neurons firing. Now we enter the phase that can be really, really hard for someone like me. Doubt kicks in. Really hard. Because as soon as that energy starts leaving the body, we start repeating the same sentences, right? What if it fails? Is it too much outside the box? What will management say? We could play this a bit safer. And I'll admit, for the first and last time today, that I actually also do that a bit. I fall in and out of love with our ideas as we produce them. I think it's natural. Because when is a creative idea good? See, that's what I'm dealing with. We're not dealing with math. There's no correct answers. There's no boxes to tick, or maybe there actually are a few boxes. In my world, it's twofolded. First thing, we need to find it. We spent countless hours in meeting rooms, walking, talking, ideating, sketching ideas. We do a lot of explaining ideas to each other in a team at Frankly, because very often an idea pops into your head and you have a really hard time articulating it, and it gets super frustrating when the rest of the room doesn't get it. Like, come on, can't you see this is brilliant? And they're like, no. So we do a lot of explaining. So we're on this fierce quest to find the right idea, the right answer to the problem. And in that process, we keep adding ideas to the wall. Is this a good idea? Is it the right idea? And it makes me think about back in school when we were taught classic design. It was a lot about people looking like this, because back then you needed to smoke the pipe if you were a designer. So these iconic Danish design legends, with their coats and their pipes, they also had a mantra. They sought, and I think actually Helle also mentioned it in her speech, the balance between form and function. All right? So form being the actual design, and the function representing the more human part of what you're doing. And when I think about it, I think it's the same with creative ideas. We don't want to settle for just the form. Cute, funny, clever. It feels like old days. It's not enough. We need to succeed with the human aspect as well, the function. All right, forgot to push. And I think form and function was so important to these guys back then. And maybe that's why you can still find their products on Instagram and here on this terrace, generations later. All right. I said twofold. I know it's a while ago. So, number 2. Now we found the idea. Wasn't easy, but we all know in our stomachs, between those 10 ideas, one of them is there. So my next problem is I need to convince you guys that the idea that we brought are the right ones. And as I just mentioned, there's no right or wrong. So now begins the epic battle of the right and the left part of the brain. Okay? We all have it. Some of us maybe lean a bit more to one side than the other. All of a sudden, we venture into the risk and reward. We start talking about courage. And, branding starts talking about the power of communicating as a confident brand and the results it can generate. And I don't see courage in creativity as like blindly jumping into the unknown. I see it as the power of believing in your instinct and the expertise of those involved. It means recognizing that playing it safe, not always, but often, will lead to mediocrity. Counting on the Americans in the room now. So while taking a calculated risk actually can lead to greatness. And with greatness, you can insert whatever greatness means to your business in the terrace here. I always use this one example with my colleagues. I tell them, imagine yourself being in a room and there are a bunch of engineers pitching Google Street View to you. So you're the decision maker, and someone is saying stuff like, okay, so we're going to take cars and we're going to drive every street on the planet and do photos, and you're going to, well, what? You're going to do what? That sounds absurd, right? It literally does. The courage must have been very strong in that meeting. And the results, they speak for themselves. So, I thought it would be fun to share a few of my own great meetings with you. And I hope I press this the right amount of time. Otherwise, I'm going to figure it out. Not long ago, I didn't. Not long ago, I met with the Danish Industry. It's a private organization representing, I would say, just basically all big companies in Denmark. And they needed us to come up with a way to communicate something as sexy as sustainable legislations that were about to hit the industrial market in Denmark. But I mean, it's a very busy space. Everyone is talking about sustainability, but now the whole legislation part is coming as well, and people are getting scared. So we had this idea of doing a safety shoe made out of broccoli. And I would admit, some in the team doubted it just a smidge. But we brought it anyway. And they really liked it. And We also got to buy a 3D printer and all sorts of stuff, which was also fun. So that was a great meeting, and it was a really fun project. And I had to bring this as well. We also lifted their campaign engagement by a factor 5. For me, that's win all the way down. But people were still, I mean, the debates we went through, how many people could potentially be offended by a broccoli shoe? Apparently a lot. And legal, I mean, is it real broccoli? No. We're not going to grow the shoe. I mean, we had some pretty fun meetings. But it ended out in an awesome way. A while back, switching to another meeting. A while back, McKinsey contacted us with a very specific ask. They needed a way to communicate tech capabilities in a distinct way. And it took me a while as a Dane to really understand like the distinct part of it. And please note that every major tech capability out there is literally pouring money and effort into owning this agenda. Everybody's talking about tech, right? So just find a way to communicate that in a new and exciting way. All right? Long story short, almost short, we came up with a campaign based around a simple statement. And I would love to time it so that the movie ends right when I say it, but I probably can't, so I might reveal it in advance. But what we came up with was, if you truly want to uncover the value of technology, there's one thing you need to understand, and that is that it's never just about tech. So think about it. Everyone else is rallying this as it's going to solve everything. But it's nice that there's someone in the room hitting pause and saying, it's not just about that. We need to think about other stuff as well. In my head, perfect form, perfect function. Problem solved with a creative sentence. That was a great meeting. I think maybe it was over a few meetings, so maybe it's not just one. I brought another great meeting for you. I don't know, I put so much stuff on this one. I'm going to freestyle it a bit. A while back, Henkel, one of our long-term favorite customers, clients, Klaus, I know you like, yeah. They came to us and they needed us to rebrand a legacy brand called Terrason. Terrason do industrial adhesives for building and repairing cars. And they do it a lot. They pretty much own that one. But this was a rebranding project, kind of like what Lærke talked about. So it got complicated. Lots of slides, lots of pyramids, and we did a lot of design work because we needed to update the whole thing to fit the new sort of diversity, inclusion. Like we made it a bit more dirty, so it felt like auto shops working. But a problem dawned on us during that process. A very simple fact. The fact that nobody actually likes to see cars ram into each other. There's something about it. Like think about it. If you see it like a wreck, if you drive by it on the freeway, you go like, "Ooh, maybe who was in the back seat?" And it's discomforting in a way. And that's a problem if you live off fixing broken cars that are crashed. So we were debating that for like half a day, and then we came up with a little bold idea. We put it into a slide deck of hundreds of slides and basically forgot about it. And a few weeks later, when we were presenting, very, very quickly, that idea caught the team's attention. I actually found the old slide. This was the original slide we pitched. Because where is it okay when cars run into each other? Like dirt rally. Those like rowdy, maybe you don't do it anymore. I don't even know because I started Googling. But back in the days, ramming into each other, people going, ugh. So a place where cars could run into each other. So we built an 80s dirt car rally. And I spent many, many nights doing this. It was really fun. 3 months later, we invented a female protagonist battling like proper 80s bad guys that are just bad. We don't know why they're so bad. They were just like that, and they had bad names as well, and clothing, everything. So like an epic race for glory, and obviously the product Terrason ended up saving the day, and experienced, hardworking people that fix cars. And I just thought about it that that meeting was great too, but it was not because of me, because I honestly thought that the team we were pitching to, they would say this was one of those ideas that go, great idea, but a bit too bold for now. But they actually ended up buying it, which was amazing. I had a fourth idea in mind that I wanted to bring, but then the other day I had a meeting actually with Elizabeth and the team, and I thought I would bring that. It was a really great experience. We're doing an ambassador program for what's it called? A biopharma company. And we were pitching like the first round, lots of ideation. We're unfolding the ambassador program. And obviously, I hope you notice, we brought some of that good old Frankly energy, which is really important. Gotta be the best meeting of the day. Energy is super important. And long story short, when the meeting ended, the head of comms said, look guys, I would love to start my everyday with you guys presenting ideas to me. It feels like an energetic morning exercise, giving me energy to complete the day. He literally said those words. And I mean, what more could a little old creative director want from that? So, I'm gonna get a bit philosophical here towards my conclusion. I think problems love creativity because it gives them purpose. Okay? And I think creativity loves problems because it provides a reason to exist, which is almost the same. And the interaction between the two truly holds the power to innovate companies and organizations if we dare to let it. So please, remember that the next time you have one of those great meeting moments in your day. Thank you.
Thanks for the great energy you brought today. And so if I got it right, we are aiming at making today's event meeting the best of the week for the audience here, right? Of course. On that note, open up for questions.
There are any?
I have the mic. Yes.
There's one from Maya.
If you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Oscar. I'm an environmental reporter here in New York. I have a question about, you mentioned it's not just tech, right? So what are kind of the pitfalls that you see with maybe not taking into account everything else beyond tech?
Sorry, the last part I couldn't hear.
So what are the pitfalls for companies who don't take into account everything that is not tech?
I mean, this is a bit outside my expertise, but we did do a lot of deep diving on this specific topic, so I can't give you maybe a bit of an answer. But I mean, many of the statistics, they talk for themselves. You see so many big technological implementation projects just not succeeding because you think the technology alone is going to solve it. And I mean, the next someone is going to say is probably AI, right? So a massive influx right now. And I think specifically with AI, this is an immensely important sentence because we've been debating this quite a lot. But if you just roll with the technology and you forget the human part of it, I think something like emotional intelligence, something like intuition, life experience, tech doesn't have that. I think we as human beings need to sort of moderate or curate the technology in a way so it fits to other human beings because that stuff it can't figure out on its own.
Hi there. I was at Yahoo long ago in Silicon Valley designing products, and I'm a serial founder now, so I take the lessons I learned and apply them. So one of the things that I found long ago was ethnography, and so I'm curious what you're doing at Frankly to kind of be in the shoes of the consumer when you're building creativity around the problems.
It's a good question. And honestly, it's a question we always debate quite a lot, because some people, especially many of our UX people, they would say we could never do enough of literally like talking and listening. And honestly, I would also say that we probably don't do enough. Because very often we are faced with time schedules that do not allow us to go out for weeks and months and interview. We do have a strategic department that do a lot of this initial research. And also, I think we work primarily with very, very big corporations, and they have very often, departments of hundreds. So very often, if we get a brief, I also get 500 slides of data that I need to crunch before we actually start working. And I think we take all that in and we use it in the dialogue we have. So when we do hang these on the wall, we actually spend a lot of time looking back in the data and also saying, does this resonate? Does it make sense? Not just from a gut feel perspective, but from a data perspective. And actually, I would say AI is kind of useful in that sense as well right now.
Did that answer your question? Nada?
Hey, Maya, did you have a question? Or?
I'm curious, I think it's more of a cultural question than anything. What do you see as the risk appetite by region for creativity?
What do you mean by risk
So
appetite?
for example, would companies based in Europe be more open to racy campaigns versus US, right? So what is the risk appetite for creativity by region? So let's just have some fun, US versus Europe.
That is a good question. Many of the campaigns we do, they actually need to fly globally. And I would say the biggest problem is that we, as Lærke just said, there's a part of the pyramid of what we do where we want absolute control. Like the very top level, we don't want people to tinker with it. We don't want localization. We just want to make sure it stands exactly like this, because we feel that's the pinnacle point of our storytelling. And what potentially happens if you work with a global company is that will be toned down to a level that's globally obviously acceptable. We face that quite a lot, just to be honest. But what we then do is we create opportunities further down in our communications channels for more, I would say, radical localization, because it's going on anyway. I mean, we do something out of a global function, we send it out to the world, and then 5 months later we see what they actually did, and then we're like, oh my God, I mean, did you see what we did? So I think no matter how we twist and turn it, it will live a life of its own. So yeah, there will be companies in Europe that will be way more rowdy on being, maybe tapping into agendas that you would never touch in the US market. But very good question, very relevant.
All right. I think we're
Yeah.
good. So let's break
Yeah.
for another session. Thank you, Jesper.